Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. Want to improve your organization's customer service? Looking for insider tips to knock your customer socks off? Then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Yannick Grant.
Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. On today's episode, our guest is Sarah Diegnan. Sarah is ChartHop's VP of Customer Experience. After leading implementations at Acuity Brands, Opower and Oracle, she brings operational excellence to creating and delivering a world-class customer experience for all ChartHop's customers. She's an expert in leading a customer journey, partnering with customers from the first moments of onboarding through successful execution of all account goals, making sure customers are getting the most out of ChartHop. In addition to her SaaS experience, Sarah was a practicing structural engineer at Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, and worked for the commercial real estate developer Tishman Speyer. So without further delay, plug your earphones in, sit back, and let's jump right into this conversation with Sarah. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Awesome. Now, we always like to give our guests an opportunity to share with us in their own words a little bit about their journey. You know, how you got to where you are today, what catalyst got you into the customer experience journey, and just, a little bit about who you are in your own words.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, sometimes I like to say that I have a bit of a meandering path to where I am today, but I think that's actually something that is common amongst customer experience professionals. Is it takes a lot of different skill sets, and I think you can build those in a lot of different areas. And so I started my career as a structural engineer. It was something that I always wanted to be when I was a little kid. People would ask, what do you want to do? And I wanted to design buildings. I wanted to design skyscrapers. And so that is what I did. I set out to do it. And I went to school. I went to engineering school, and I loved it. I really, really did. And I think architecture and buildings will always have a very, very special place in my heart. However, what I started realizing when I hit about year 4, year 5, being a structural engineer, is that it's a very narrow piece of we'll call it building life cycle, very, very narrow. And I had the fortune to work with a project manager who was representing the owner, and she really had purview of the whole project, sort of end to end, all the pieces coming together to build these amazing buildings. And I had lunch with her and said, I would like to do your job. Can you tell me how to do it? And one of the first things she said was, well, I went to business school because you need to learn the business side of the business, right? Or of buildings. I was like, great. So I did that. I went to business school, and coming out of business school, I thought working in real estate development was the place for me. I did that for a couple of years, and again, realized it was still a little too narrow in a lot of ways. And living in the Bay Area, it's really easy to get the startup itch. You sort of look around, and tech is everywhere here. Mm-hmm. And I had the fortune of literally running into a friend running in Golden Gate Park here in San Francisco. And she said, you need to talk to my sister. She is at a startup, and they're selling commercial lighting controls, and they need an engineer who understands buildings, building operators, engineers. And I said, you know what? I know that person. That person is me. And that was my very first job. We called it project operations, and this was a long time ago. But it was customer experience. It was the start of customer experience, and it was sort of the start of my journey to where I am today. This is ChartHop is my 4th startup, and throughout my career, I've sort of grown into taking on more and more teams, and have gotten to a point today where I lead all of customer experience at ChartHop, and that includes professional services, our customer success team, our technical support team, and our account management / renewals team. So sort of a crazy story how I got here, but the reality is it's working with customers that I love. It's the project management and the operational piece, and I've sort of grown that throughout the years as an engineer, as a real estate professional, and now as a tech professional.
Amazing. All right. So Sarah, you are at a company called ChartHop, and for those of our listeners that don't know what ChartHop does, could you tell us a little bit about your company and what is the service or product that you provide?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, and I'm happy to talk a little bit about it. So, ChartHop is really transforming the way companies think about managing and supporting their people. So, what that means is we can take people data from all your different systems, so your HR system, your talent acquisition system, equity, and put it all in one place. And the thing that makes ChartHop really special is that it's not just for HR professionals or it's not just for the CEO. It is truly for every single person at the company, your individual contributors, all the way through to your CEO. And the reason why that's so important is because what you're doing is you're creating a very transparent organization. You're creating a one stop shop for everybody in the organization to get all the information that they need to maybe just, if you're an individual contributor, it's really all the information that you need to understand and navigate the organization. Or someone in my role, it gives me the ability to look in one place to understand everybody in my organization, where might they be on a vesting schedule, how long have they been at ChartHop, what has their performance looked like over the years. And so it's really designed to create a transparent organization. It's designed to make sure that leadership is making good decisions, especially when we start thinking about DEIB in the workplace. And one of the key attributes is really it's for everyone at a company, not just the HR team.
Right. So HR plays a very important role in an organization, and I'd love for you to maybe take a few minutes and discuss with us your view on the customer journey through an HR lens, and how do you think EX impacts customer outcomes, the ins and outs of a customer health score?
Yeah, those are all great questions. And I think, part of what attracted me to ChartHop was the sort of, I'll call it intersection of HR and employee experience and customer experience. Like most people that are listening to this podcast, if you're managing and leading a customer experience team, it probably means that you are leading a pretty big team, right? When you're talking about services in an organization, it's human capital, right? If robots could do our jobs, right? If a health score, which I'll get into in a minute, was just 2 + 2 is 4, we wouldn't be here. And so you have to take care of your people. And I think that's first and foremost why EX and CX are in a lot of ways the same thing, and they influence each other. I think time and time again, we've learned that happy employees, employees that understand the mission, employees that are driven by that mission, are going to be your highest producers, right? And they're going to be the most productive. And if you think about putting that motivated high performer on a call with your customer, that's infectious. Absolutely infectious, right? That motivation and that desire to drive value with the customer is going to translate every single time. And so it is so important as CX leaders to really be thinking about that, and really thinking about how to engage your team, not just in, hey, these are the metrics we need to hit as a company, or hey, this is what you need to do with your customers, but really investing time, investing professional development, and really thinking about the employee experience, because it is going to translate. I also think one of the interesting things I've been able to do here at ChartHop is really work closely with our head of HR and think about how the employee experience is truly also how we think about a customer journey, right? If you think about those magic moments for a customer journey, there's onboarding and implementation, right? You have to nail that. You have to have customers coming out of that phase of the journey and just feeling so excited and so pumped, right? That they bought ChartHop and that they're using ChartHop. That's the same thing you want your employees to feel when they're coming out of onboarding, right? Internal onboarding. You want them to feel so excited. You want them to feel so empowered You want them to understand what we're doing here at ChartHop. And so you can really see the overlap. And this is something I've worked really closely with our head of HR here at ChartHop to make sure that we are tracking together, so to speak, right? When you start thinking about driving adoption for a customer journey, right? That is the exact same as working with someone on your team on what their professional development is, right? You chart out someone's professional development the exact same way you're going to chart out a customer's objective planning with you, right? And so really thinking about all of those things and making sure that we're aligned. And I think one of the questions that you asked also was to talk a little bit about a health score. I think health scores are absolutely fascinating and also just really where you get to sort of like leave your fingerprint, your true unique fingerprint on how you think about your customer base, right? I mentioned this before, 2 + 2 is 4. That's great. And I'm sure all the professionals out there could put together a really, really smart mathematical equation to take, number of support tickets, bugs, time to launch, outcome of a use case, and sort of put a number together and come out with a magic number at the other end, right? But that doesn't really capture everything that goes into customer health, right? It is truly an art and a science. And I think science is really important. I think it is important to calculate that number, right? That magic number that says, hey, if they're above 80%, they're happy, below 80%, they're yellow, below 30%, they're red. Great. Okay, so we have a stoplight. But, what is the customer saying to you on the phone, right? What is the customer bringing to you in your weekly calls, right? What is the customer saying during quarterly business reviews? That's going to be a different level of understanding of how happy that customer is. And one example that I give a lot to my team is just thinking through, if you have a customer who is really excited about working with you on beta features or alpha features, right? And it's like, hey, I want to be there. I want to test it with you. Then if you're basing their health solely on sort of like number of bugs, it's not going to look pretty, right? But if that customer is signing up for it and excited about it, then there's a different overlay that you need to put on that customer. And so I really truly think it's an art and a science of how you think about health score. And again, just to sort of come full circle, it's the same exact thing with employees, right? You can't just look at one dimension. Humans are multi-dimension, and you have to look at a lot of different factors to really assess, is this person a flight risk, or are you going to keep them for another couple of years? And so it's really thinking about things both from just a pure human perspective and from a numbers.
Brilliant, brilliant, awesome. Thank you for sharing all of that, Sarah. Great, great insights and nuggets as it relates to HR, customer experience, the health score, integrating all of that, looking at the human dimensions. So important if you really want to create a strong culture. Now, you've been in the customer experience space for quite some time, and I just wanted to know, as we exit one calendar year and jump into another, are there any emerging trends that you've seen in the in the CX space, in the employee experience space, that you think organizations should really be paying greater attention to or tapping into as we embark on our new year?
Yeah, this is such a great question, and something I've been definitely thinking a lot about, especially as I'm sure most people are doing this too, going into planning, right? Going into next year's fiscal planning. I think it's a couple things, and I've used this word before, and so I don't want to overuse it, but I think it's relevant, is transparency. If I think about the CX organization and just employees in general, they're sort of demanding, and I think that's the right word. I think they're demanding more transparency. We've seen a lot about pay transparency and really posting pay scales. And I think that ripples through all parts of the organization. It's not just pay, it's truly transparency in who reports to who, right? And, what are people working on, and, what deals are closing. And so I think that's a really big trend that folks need to take a step back and make sure that they're being as transparent as possible with their employees. I think that also leads true because of the remote environment. I know a lot of companies, ChartHop is one of them, we're still remote. And so really focusing on transparency to me also means focusing on communication, sort of overly communicating with your employees, making sure they truly understand what we're all doing, right? What direction are we pointed at? What is our mission? What should we be thinking about day in and day out? And I think that that actually also is something that I'm thinking about with our customers. I think transparency with our customers looks a little bit different, but it's something that I'm continuing to see and think about. All Everyone, again, this goes back to sort of the human nature. Like humans have different ways of learning. And I think that that is something that I'm hearing customers really sort of demand, again, use that word, demand
Mhm.
from us right now as customer success professionals is customers want to learn how they want to learn. And what I mean by that is I actually truly spoke to a customer this morning that was like, hey, your CSMs are great, but I sort of want to figure some of this stuff out myself, right? I want to read, I want to read a help article. I have other customers say to me, I want more videos, right? I want more in-app communication. And I sort of feel like all of that is about communication. All of that is about transparency. All about is sort of meeting people where they are. And so I think that's a big trend to be thinking about as you're thinking through your customer journey for your specific product is all the different ways to communicate with your customer and not be annoying, right? Not have a
Definitely,
million
definitely not.
so not to be annoying, but to sort of meet the customer where they're at, right? Like, hey, if you want to read something, here's the link to the doc. If you want to see a step-by-step video, here's driving to the, your learning center. And so that's a big trend that I'm seeing right now is customers really wanting to choose their path and sort of choose how they want to learn about your product.
Hmm. Wow, it's interesting you said that because I actually attended our customer success conference in Washington in October, and I sat in a session where they spoke about community and more organizations building out their community pages on their websites where, if you do have an issue, you don't actually have to get in touch with the company because the community can help you because other people have had similar issues. And I thought that was so
Yes.
brilliant that, if we could really get more of that, when I think about my own devices, like even my Apple computer or my phone, if there's something wrong or something I'm not sure about, I automatically go to Google and usually Google populates based on the SEO. The Apple community comes up like in the first two or three resolution options that Google provides you with. And 9 out of 10 times, someone else has had that issue and the answer is right there waiting for you. So I totally get when they say they want to have the opportunity to be able to fix it on their own.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think community is so important. I also think that that's where you get really cool thought leadership, right? You get folks that are using your product in ways that you had no idea.
True.
Right? Like truly, you're like, wow, that was. I mean, I'll get on the phone with customers and be like, wow, that was super clever. I
Yeah,
I
true.
never thought about doing it that way. And
True.
so, yeah, I love the concept of a community. And yeah, I think we can all learn from our peers in so many ways. I love that.
Brilliant. All right. Okay. Now, Sarah, could you share with us what's the one online resource, tool, website, or app that you absolutely can't live without in your business?
That's such a great question. Do I have to just give one?
You can give more than one for sure.
All right, awesome. Um, it's such a great question. So, first and foremost, I do have to say it is that again, I know I mentioned this a couple moments ago, is that part of my job description is leading a large team. It's just always what it's like in a customer experience organization. And so to be totally true, ChartHop has really changed how I manage teams. And so I'd say that's tool number one.
Mm-hmm.
Even at some point, if I were to leave, I would definitely advocate for that platform. It helps me navigate so many things with my team that it's so important. I think number two, I think is video conferencing. I know that there is Zoom fatigue in the world. I truly appreciate it and I feel it. But being face to face with your customer is priceless, right? It is so hard to pick up on tone in an email, right? It's so hard to really convey what you're trying to say without having that face to face, and with so much less travel. That is so critical, I think. I think you have to put a face to a name. I think that's how you build relationships and build rapport.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one I'm going to say, which goes back to my very nerdy engineering days, because at my core, I am an engineer, is really Excel, or Google Sheets. I use Excel all the time. It's what I need to run my business.
Brilliant, brilliant. Excel is a very powerful tool.
Absolutely. It's maybe not the most people don't get as jazzed about it, but I do. It's truly my go-to.
All right. Now, could you also share with us, Sarah, maybe one or two books that have had a great impact on you? It could be a book that you read a very long time ago, or even one that you read quite recently, but it surely has, created an impact, maybe had great value in your leadership delivery, and you just really would love to share it with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I have one in mind that I read probably about 8 years ago, and I recently reread it because our CEO loves it as well, and so he had all of the executive team read it. It's called The Five Dysfunctions of a Team.
Hmm.
It's by, and I think the title of it is so great. It's by Patrick Linsoni. I believe I'm pronouncing that last name correctly. It's so great because I really think it's transferable both from a leadership team perspective, but also from a CX perspective. And so what I mean by that is the whole concept of the book is that there is a first team, and your first team is not who you think it is. A lot of people think that your first team are the people that report to you, right? And the concept is that that's not actually true. Your first team are your peers in the organization. And the reason why it's your peers is because together you are a matrix, right? You're a matrix organization, and together you all need to work to reach the ultimate company goal, not your own goal, right? It's not like, how does Sarah reach her goals across customer experience? No, no,
Mm-hmm.
no. It's how do we as an executive team work together to reach our goals as a company, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's really this concept of, you have to have a common goal, number one, and like your team goal can't outshine the common goal.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I like it for customer experience as well, and it's something that I drive with my leadership team, is we are a matrix environment. We have 4 separate teams that report to me, but together, these 4 teams need to work together for the one common goal of creating the absolute best customer experience for our customers.
Mm.
And so, if that is what we're keeping in mind, if truly every single day we show up and say, our goal is to provide the best customer experience to our customers, then the right thing to do is very easy, or who does what becomes very clear. And so it's a book that really resonates with me, and I recommend. It's a very quick read. And I recommend it as both a CX professional, but also just as you're continuing to sort of move up the ladder, as you think about working across teams as well, sort of cross-functionally.
Mm-hmm.
It's an absolute great read.
Nice, very nice. So we'll definitely have the link to that book in the show notes of this episode. While you were explaining what the book was about, in summary, especially the example you gave of one person's goal should not outshine the overall goal of the company, I thought of football. I guess because we're in World Cup season now.
Yes, yes.
And I said to myself,
Absolutely.
one person's goal cannot outshine the overall team's goal, which is to win the game.
Exactly. So I coach my 2 boys soccer team.
Oh,
Sorry, we call it soccer, football.
yeah.
There are some really great football soccer commercials happening right now, by the way. And it's so true. It's something that I really talk to the kids about from a young age. both when you score a goal and when the team scores against you. It's not the
Right.
goalie's fault. It went through every single player before it got to the goalie, right?
True.
And same concept, the person who scores, it touched a lot of feet before it got to that person that eventually put the ball in the back of the
Yep.
net. So you are exactly right. I am a sports nerd, and it's the same concept. So I love it.
Yeah, that's it just popped in my mind a while ago. I was like, wow, that's like it's such a simple statement, but it's so profound. And if everybody kind of has that mindset in an organization, I think the employee and the customer experience can be phenomenal.
Absolutely.
All right, Sarah, could you share with our listeners what's the one thing that's going on in your life right now that you're really excited about? Either something you're working on to develop yourself or your people.
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. Okay, so I'll give you two answers.
Okay.
um, Personally, what I'm working on, I am a member of an organization. It's a women's networking organization, and we meet once a month with a peer group. It's actually interesting. This is now becoming a theme, a peer group. So other women who are at my same level and sort of going through sort of the same things, and we're all in the same macro environment, right? And so even if maybe some of them are not customer experience professionals, they're marketing professionals, most are in the startup environment, but it's something that I'm really embracing. And each month we meet and we all bring to the table something that we're facing, or something that we're thinking about, or a challenge that we're going through with the company, and really working on being reflective. That is something that I'm working on. Is when you are in it every day with customers, you sort of create this world where you're sort of go 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 go. And I think that a little bit more reflection is always really good. And so that is something that professionally I'm working on, is sort of taking those, it's only 2 hours once a month, but really taking that time to reflect, like sort of prepare for those meetings, and sort of reflect on myself. And then for my team, this might sound a little funny, but I'm actually right now hiring a new leader for the customer success team. And I am so excited to partner with this new leader, because the customer success managers at ChartHop are absolutely phenomenal. And I'm excited to truly phenomenal. And I'm excited to get a leader in seat that is really going to work with them, both from a professional development standpoint and also just a process perspective, but really dive in and take that team to the next level. And so that's really my focus, is just finding and hiring such an amazing leader for an amazing team.
All right. Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing, Sarah. Now, our listeners would have tapped into this episode and they're quite intrigued with you and they would like to follow you online. They'd like to connect with you, probably even, learn some additional nuggets and information as it relates to CX and EX and, the integration of having a strong HR function and just building that culture to create that magical experience for the customers. Where can they find you online?
Yes, absolutely. Please find me on LinkedIn. That is my main online source.
Okay. All right. So we will have the link to Sarah's LinkedIn page in the show notes of our episode. Now, Sarah, as we wrap our episodes up, we always like to ask our guests, in times of adversity or challenge, do you have a quote or a saying that you tend to revert to? It kind of helps to get you back on track or get you back refocused if for any reason you get derailed.
Yes. Wow. That one is, that's a good one.
Mhm.
I think one of the things I think about is, and I think the folks out there listening in the customer experience org can sort of relate to this, is that some days you show up and you have a list of things to do and none of those things get done.
True.
Right. And because at the end of the day, we are going to follow the lead of our customers. And so if a customer needs to talk to me, I'm going to drop everything to talk to that customer. And I'm sure every single person that's listening does the same exact thing. And so in the moments when I'm thinking to myself, wow, I am buried, right? Like, how am I going to get all of this done? I think I go back to, something that my mom would always say to me, it'll all get done, Sarah. It will all get done. And it's something that I think about a lot. How it all gets done is sort of in the background. It's truly just believing in yourself and believing that you're going to figure it out, and having that confidence that, as my mom would say, it's all going to get done, Sarah. It's all going to get done.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Truly amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Sarah, for taking time out of your very busy schedule to hop on this podcast, have this great conversation, give our listeners, greater insight as to what they can do, what they can improve on, what are some of the emerging trends that you've seen, the fact that we need to be more transparent, we need to be more collaborative. Some of the different applications that you've used and are continuing to use to enhance your work that you do daily to improve your productivity as well as to get your job done, and of course working towards the overall goal, which is to create that magical experience for your customers at ChartHop. So thank you so much, and we just really want to express our gratitude to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. This has been great. It's been a lot of fun.
All right. Just want to remind our listeners if you'd like to join our private Facebook group, you can log on to Facebook. It's called Navigating the Customer Experience Community, and feel free to follow us on Twitter at NavigatingCX. Until next time, I'm your host, Yanni Grant. We also have a new book available on Amazon, The ABCs of a Fantastic Customer Experience. It's available in ebook and paperback. So if you want to increase revenue in your organization, build a stronger service culture, and create employees or develop employees who are really mastering service delivery in your business, you need to grab a copy of this book. Until next time, I'm your host, Yanni Grant.
Thanks for listening. For more awesome resources to take your customer service game to another level, head over to navigatingthecustomerexperience.com. See you next time.